business in order for you to decide where you want to go in your business. So what I'd like to do right now is spend some time talking about one of my favorite authors. I'm sure many of you have probably heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He's a national best-selling author, a business owner, multi-billionaire investor, and humanitarian. And I use his work in my daily reference, basically, for various things. And he's got lots of different books. But what I like about him is he's someone who's not just talked the talk, but he's walked the walk. You know, so many people out there, what I find a lot of times is people who can't do what they say they do, they try to teach other people how to do it. You know, and he's somebody who's actually talked the talk and walked the walk, and he brings a lot of valid points and concepts to all of us who are in small business or even big business. So what I want to do right now, and basically all this is, guys, is our financial mindset. It's the mindset of me and of you, and getting ourselves to kind of clean out the junk that we've traditionally been taught. You know, unfortunately, a lot of families today, these kids are growing up and they have absolutely zero financial education. And we are responsible for providing that for them. And through people like Robert Kiyosaki and all of us being proactive in our own businesses and then educating others, it's really going to have a profound impact, I think, on the lives of our kids. So basically, it's just a mindset thing. I'm going to see, Gail, would you help me, please?
I'll be your mom.
Thank you, my Vanna White. So what I want to talk today is about cash flow quadrants. Have any of you heard of this concept before? Okay, great. I'm going to ask also if you guys can help participate. I thought that might make it a little bit more fun and not so boring just listening to me talk. He talked about 4 different quadrants. And like I said, basically this is all about cash flow. And we're going to talk a little bit more extensively here in a while about that. But as small business owners and even employees, a lot of times our big challenge is cash flow, right? So let's talk about these different quadrants. If you look on the left, the quadrants on the left, the top one is the E. Does anybody know what the E stands for? Employee. Okay. How many folks in the room, if you can raise your hand, are actually employees for someone else? Okay. Just a few of you? Okay. Well, great. Well, obviously an employee, you know, is just that, someone who works for someone else. Basically, they're usually people who like the security of knowing what they're going to get at the end of the day or the end of the week, as far as pay, that type of thing, benefits, those kinds of things. But the challenge with employees is oftentimes they're able to provide for their families, but they're never able really to create that wealth that a lot of folks are looking to accomplish. Not that it's bad, because certainly we need people who are employees, because that's what fuels the big name companies and other big businesses, but it just depends on where you are in your own mindset and where you want to be. And if you want to still stay in that mindset, or if you want to move to a different quadrant. The next one is called S. Anybody know what S stands for? Chris? You know? No? Okay.
Self-employed?
Yeah, Mike, self-employed. Those are people who are basically, they want to be the boss. Okay? They want to do their own thing. They don't want anybody telling them what to do. That's a great thing, you know? They're usually doctors, lawyers, dentists, more specialized people who've been to school for a lot of years, that type of thing. It's a great place to be because they're in control of their own destiny, so to speak. But the downfall is that basically they're a one-man show. They may have a few office staff, that type of thing, but they're so highly professional that if they step out of the equation or they go on vacation, everything pretty much stops, all right? So, you know, I've been in that position too, where I've been in real estate and mortgage, and it's just about me and all I can do, and I'm starting over every month, and I'm turning and burning and that type of thing. So after time, that gets exhausting for people. They still want to be entrepreneurs, but they haven't quite gotten that mindset shift of moving over to the other side. The other side of the quadrant, obviously the B up here on the right-hand corner, B stands for business, okay? Right. And that's when basically you're leveraging other people in order to create income. And the big companies are pretty good at that, right? Because they utilize all the employees on the other side in order to create wealth for themselves. Well, what we're talking about here more specifically is being able to create wealth for yourself. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that, and if you want to learn more about that, we can have certainly other conversations. But normally those are people who are able to lead other people and really get other people performing for them so that they can generate an income. And finally, down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the investor. And if you've ever been an investor, you know what a great feeling that is because you're able to basically take the money you've accumulated in any of these quadrants and then put that money to work out in the marketplace for you in some other arena. So it's all about creating multiple streams of income. But the biggest challenge for most people is they never make enough money to be able to invest. Okay? And people like Robert Kiyosaki, they started educating people about how to do this and how to make the transition, really in essence because they found that they needed people to invest in their other businesses. And so basically it all kind of comes full circle. But they're just maximizing their efforts by leveraging other people and then ultimately leveraging their own money once they get to that point. So no matter, sorry, we're having a little So regardless of which category we find ourselves in, obviously a common conversation among business owners, both large and small, is our need to improve cash flow, right? Most of us went into business for ourselves with aspirations of generating wealth. And that comes from getting customers and serving them. While we once could harvest clients with traditional advertising campaigns, outdated marketing lacks return. Okay, that model doesn't work anymore. It's basically broken. The ad industry started changing about 10 years ago, but it's really becoming visible around town today. For instance, has anybody seen the Circuit City store lately? Anybody? No. Okay. Well, I'll tell you where they are. They're at Castleton. It's actually a big vacant store. Back in the summer, in July, you could buy fireworks there. Now you can buy Halloween costumes for making scaring your trick-or-treaters when they show up at your door. But my point in telling you that is, they were one of the nation's top 287 companies just 3 years ago, and now they only exist online. Okay, so that's a real sign and a trend of where big business is going. Because what they did is they spent millions and millions of dollars to create this storefront, and then they spent a couple $100,000 a month just in overhead to maintain all of that. Okay? Well, it gets really costly and really expensive for them as well as for other businesses. So the reality is that it does cost us millions of dollars, and people are realizing there's a smarter, more effective way, not just it's just more cost effective for them now to redirect those dollars that they're already spending. So have you noticed other businesses in your neighborhoods that are kind of transforming, like we said, and having to reinvent themselves and coming up with different ways of doing business? Because the traditional ways aren't working anymore. For example, how many of you receive the newspaper at home? Anybody still get a newspaper every morning? Hey, okay, there are a few. But for most of us, we're getting that information online. So obviously, that whole news dissemination process or system has changed as well. Another sign of the times, how many of you spend a lot of time on the highway? I know I do. How many blank billboards do you see on the highway? They are everywhere. Why? Because companies can't afford to do that anymore. The other thing is they don't know what it's going to yield them in the way of a return. Okay? They're throwing all of these hundreds of thousands of dollars against the wall through traditional sources of advertising, whether it's newspaper, radio, billboards, NASCAR. I mean, even Pepsi, they were supposed to advertise in the Super Bowl this year. They backed out at the last minute because with the creation of the DVRs, the TiVos, all of those different things, as well as social media, DVR, you can zip through all the commercials. So they don't know what those dollars are really getting in the end. So they've